A lot of people can make a movie when they don't have skin in the game. It's a lot easier to walk away, but when you start putting in your money, the pressure, the anxiety, the tension, the stress, and everything else that goes into it, financially plays a big factor.
First of all, the Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is the future of grooming and, dare I say, the greatest bald trimmer ever. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BeHappy at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code BeHappy. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. How long you been, everybody, we're just here with Chris Beatty. He's a movie director out here in Hollywood. But you're from?
Originally from New Jersey, Wayne, New Jersey. Grew up there. Actually moved out to California for a very short period of time, Hermosa Beach.
Okay.
Came back, lived in Manhattan. That whole party scene from about 19 to 24. Met my wife in 2004, and
She's a fucking sweetheart, dude.
she's the best.
When we were out last night, I really appreciate the invite, by the way.
Yeah.
We had so much fun.
Yeah.
And I think one of my favorite parts about that, what was that restaurant called? I keep forgetting it.
Which one?
The really, really nice one we were at.
Yamashiro.
Yeah, Yamashiro.
Yeah.
Oh
The
my
after
God.
party. Yeah.
And we were having a good time there, but like the different people that are there and the different connections you make, like I didn't realize what I was walking into.
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
crazy.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
I think it's really cool what you have going on, why you're doing it. And I think it's also cool how long you've been working on this.
Yeah.
But anyways, going back, his wife is a complete fucking sweetheart. She was so nice, down to hang out, just easy to talk to. And I could kind of see where you guys gel a little bit there.
I mean, we're complete opposites. We actually went to high school together. She's a year younger than me. I was a sophomore. She was a freshman. She was coming in, and there was a lot of talk about this beautiful girl, Jamie, coming in to the freshman class. And then when I saw her, my heart dropped. I fell in love right then and there. I was a lot different. I'd say I'm an introvert. I don't like to go up to people and spark a conversation, but I actually got her phone number. I called her. It rang about 3 times. She picks up and I hang up the phone. Never said one word to her in high school. 2 weeks later, she's dating the quarterback of the football team for the next 6 years. And that was my one and only chance with her. Met her in 2004 at a film I made, which just this raunchy teen comedy. She didn't see the movie, thank God. I met her at the after party, and she came up to me, never said one word to her in high school. She was like way over ecstatic, congratulating me, and I brushed her away because I didn't think there was a chance in hell she was interested in me. I kind of got really nervous. I mean, those 4 years I was in Manhattan, I was dating women, I was having fun, I was living that lifestyle. I one Bungalow 8 opened up. That was a nightclub out there. I was there every night, all fucked up. Girls didn't bother me. I never thought I was getting married. And then when I saw her, my heart froze, and that never happens. And I'm like, what the fuck? I pushed her aside. The next day, I get a call from a mutual friend of ours, and he goes, what the fuck? He goes, Jamie, what happened? I go, what do you mean what happened? She's like, she's into you. And then my heart dropped again, and then fucking went out on a date, I think a month later, because she was going to Beirut, Lebanon, or she's Lebanese. Our date was in Manhattan. I get there around 4:00, start getting hammered because I'm too nervous to speak to her. My palms are sweating. She gets there at 7, and I'm like 20 beers deep into this conversation with myself on how I'm going to approach her, and very, very nervous, very intimidating woman. Got really drunk, got high, threw up on her.
That's love at first sight right there.
She exits the cab. I'm trying to say something to her, but I'm so fucking smashed. I can't say anything. And I woke up in some girl's bathtub in Harlem and blacked out. Called her the next day. She didn't pick up. Knew it was a catastrophe. I said, listen, that's not me. I don't even drink. I don't even smoke weed. Just give me one more chance. And she called me back, and that was the rest is history.
Dude, good for you, though. Yeah. That's a wild story. You threw up on her, though. That's fucking great.
Threw up.
You probably still hear about that to this day.
She was just like, you were a complete fucking mess. And I explained how intimidating she was, and now we've been great ever since.
As an introvert, is that still something that's like prevalent for you today? Where like
100%.
Really?
I don't like the festivals. I don't like doing. I like authenticity. I like connecting with people.
Yeah. But like a straight hardcore interview, like this is, we try to keep it more casual.
Yeah.
But like, because I'd rather have it be, it's just me and you chopping it up, having a conversation.
100%. Yeah.
Versus like, hey, here's like 10 questions and we've got 5 minutes, you know?
I'm not really into the whole promotion of the film. I just I lose myself writing. That's my escape. That's where I want to be, behind my keyboard. I want to create. And that's where my bliss is, you know.
What's the first movie, film, short film, video, whatever it might be that you wrote and created ever?
That was the film that Jamie came to the premiere for. It was a raunchy teen comedy called Salted Nuts. I hope nobody ever gets the privilege of watching that. I actually have some pretty famous people in there now that I was friends with that actually blew up. Margarita Laviva, Genevieve Cortese, some pretty big actors now. But I shot that in 2 days. It's a feature. It's a fucked up movie. It makes Jackass look like it should be on the Women's Channel.
I love that.
And I don't want anybody to see that. So when Jamie said she missed the screening at the Lincoln Center, I actually premiered that at the Lincoln Center in New York in front of 300 people. My grandmother flew up from Florida. She's wearing an evening gown, God rest her soul, and she saw that piece of shit movie. And we had the worst reviews ever on that. And I want to kind of bury that in me, but that was more of a student type of deal. I was really young at the time when I made it. Completely different. Then I started producing movies and watching directors not do what I would have done. I did a film with some pretty big actors that tanked because I read the film like Pulp Fiction, and he shot it like it was for the Hallmark Channel.
Is that really hard to do? Like when you read a film, I mean, especially when you're not in the role of like, it's not your movie per se, right? You're a part of it, but as far as say-so goes, you're not the one in charge.
At the end of the day, it's the director, and he's going to get the shots he wants. He's going to dictate to the actors how things should be portrayed, and I just hated every minute of some of the films I worked on, and I said, I'm not doing this ever again. Anything I do, I'm going to direct, and I'm going to be in charge of, and that's just the way, because I'm a control freak, and you could be the head producer on a film, and at the end of the day, it's the director's call. I mean, it's his vision. That's his, so you have to respect that. But I'm planning on directing here on out and writing my own material. So.
We so for everybody to get a little background, shout out Liv Johnson, who hooked us up with Nick, who hooked us up with Chris and Paige and Judy, and so we appreciate those guys, obviously. And I think when I met you, as far as like timid goes, you could tell you're an introvert, right? I'm usually pretty good at reading people, but what I really, really noticed about you is how passionate you are about things. like even with your wife when you talk about her, right? Like I think it's really special that that's how you feel and like how well you remember the story and like I find that to be like super interesting because I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm not an introvert, but as far as like the way I describe things, like is kind of like you. So, anyways, I met Chris. He just directed the film BiBi. Okay, and you guys are still in film festivals right now, so we'll get you guys a date on like release and all that good stuff. But it's so interesting to me to hear that you started writing this film in 2011.
Yeah, I had an idea in 2011, and it just escalated from that. It was a much different idea, and things progressed. I mean, I have 3 kids. I have restaurants, things like that. So, doing film was never at the top of my list. I have other obligations, and then finally in 2019, when everything came together, I talked to my wife and said, this is what I'm going to do full time and go full speed ahead. I sold the other 2 restaurants I had, and just want to give everything I have because I believe in myself and I believe in my writing. And I just see so much shit on TV, and I'm like, I can't allow myself to be 85 years old with a cane and say, fuck, you didn't give what you wanted to do. So here I am. BiBi's an incredible film that I'm proud of, and it's fucking great performances all around, and I think we have something really special with the film. So, I'd love for everyone to see it, and I'm curious to see how we perform at this festival with the judges, and we'll know tomorrow.
I think it's interesting to, you had a couple different options for the leading role here, and you went with you had celebrities, famous people that had auditioned, wanted the role, shit, almost booked for that at that point for the role, and then you went with somebody different, and I fucking love that. What I love about that is that shows your passion.
Yeah.
Because it's not about fame, notoriety at that point. It's like that person will play this role perfectly.
Yeah.
And based on what you just said, you really seem satisfied with what you got out of everybody. So just talk about that particular situation a little bit, and then maybe the anxiety and stress, if any, that it put on you to make that decision.
Yeah, no, making the film in general was hard. I'm one of the financiers. So when you have your own money in a film over $1 million, things start getting really fucking fast. A lot of people can make a movie when they don't have skin in the game. It's a lot easier to walk away, but when you start putting in your money, things have to, the pressure, the anxiety, the tension, the stress, and everything else that goes into it, financially, it plays a big factor. We actually got a pretty well-known actress. She loved the script. She fell in love with it. I was collaborating with her in March, April, May, June, and then we were supposed to shoot in July. So 4 months of intense collaboration. The Wrap did a headline on us, front page, that she was attached, and this is grand and all that fun stuff. And then less than 2 weeks later, I got a call from her agent that she is not going to be a part of the film. I never spoke to her again. I never got a I'm sorry text or anything. She just walked away for a studio project. And that's the brutality of independent filmmaking, is that there are no guarantees, and a lot can go wrong. And do I blame her? No. If you're going to be on a big time studio television show that's 50 million people are going to watch, what you have to make a decision. I think she made the wrong decision, and I'll stand by that, because I think this film would have blew her the fuck up. And she's not an A-list actress. She's right. She's on the cusp, but this film would have fucking showed her acting chops, and I firmly believe she made the wrong decision, walking away. That being said, I was really depressed. I mean, because money was spent. 2 weeks away, less than 2 weeks away. My head producer, Glenn Trotner, best man I ever met in this industry, was cool, calm, collective. He said, "Don't worry, we'll get someone else." She wasn't right for the role then. called our casting director, Stephanie Holbrook, and said, give me the 30 best female actresses in New York City, New York locals, that are hungry, that are fucking talented, that just never got their shot. And that's where I found Elizabeth Page. She was the second to last actress I saw doing the read. I fell in love with her, called her up, gave her the part without my casting director even knowing. Had a Zoom call with her, and she was in Minnesota. And I said, can you fly back tomorrow? And she did. When she was en route to flying back, I got a call from another agency that said this pretty damn close to A-list actress wants to be the lead in your film. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to use her. I said, I'm going to go with Paige. And they all looked at me like I had three heads. And I don't have any regrets on that. And everybody thought I was fucking crazy.
How fucking cool does that feel to watch that movie and see that now and go, I fucking made the right choice?
Yeah, I definitely made the right choice. I mean, listen, they'll tell you till they're blue in the fucking head that, you want to sell your movie, and she would have helped us sell our movie, but I don't think she would have gave the performance that Paige gave. And Paige was so hungry and determined, and you saw the fire in her eyes. You saw, like, she went above and beyond what anyone could have done for this, and she fucking killed it. I had people come to me after the screening here at Dances with Films, crying, and how real the film was and how hard it hit them. And a few women came up to me literally bawling their eyes out, and that's all you can ask for. I cried watching it again. My wife was crying next to me, and a few people came up to me, and they were just really, it hit home, the mental illness and people, the struggles people have, and everyone tries to mask their struggles and put on a face, but I tried to expose that, and I think it was successful. And I have to be clear, I have no regrets. I wouldn't do anything any other way, and I don't give a fuck. Like, if the movie doesn't get the distribution deal it deserves, I still have no regrets, because what she gave in her performance is 20 times better than what I ever could have envisioned. So I do feel pretty cool about it.
So I think it's cool that you talked about the mental illness part of things and incorporated that, because for me, I've struggled with that quite a bit. Drinking drugs, just being depressed in general. I've been on Lexapro before, and all these different things. And I grew up in like a weird environment. I had like a supportive family, but they weren't like, I don't know, I love my family, but they weren't all that. They really didn't do a ton for me as far as making sure I was cool and making sure I was like mentally taking care of myself. And a lot of people don't understand that. And for me, everything kind of changed, after I went through a breakup. It was like I lost everything. I broke down. It was like all those years of like childhood trauma and bullshit just like culminated into like one big breakdown.
Yeah.
And, I tried to kill myself. A lot of my listeners know that. May 24th, 2022, I OD'd. I had like taken to a hospital, taken to a psych ward. And it wasn't even after that. It was only like probably a month after that where like things really started changing. I started doing the right thing. But just so you had some background on me, but I want to know like how that's affected you personally too.
Yeah, so my background is interesting. My dad left when I was 2 years old. He moved to South Florida.
Where in I used to live in South Florida. I used to live in Boca.
In Boca Raton.
That's where I used to live.
I was in Boca I see my dad in the summers for about 2 weeks, and that was it. He was the cool, Don
Dude,
Johnson.
My dad lives in Boca, and he is the same. That's fucking hilarious. He's the same way.
I was in Boca when Glades Road was only one way each way.
No shit.
Palmetto
really?
Park one way each way, and 441 was 2 lanes each way.
I lived on US 1 and Lindell, it's called, or like,
I know where that is.
like Yamato and like, be farther north from Yamato, but yeah.
My dad was there. My childhood, he left my mom when I was 2. Saw him 2 weeks out of the year. And every time I saw him, I was so happy and ecstatic. I mean, he took me to Caesar's Palace. He told me I was going to Disneyland, me and my brother, and he flew us to Caesar's Palace. Dropped us off at there was a little Wet and Wild park at 8 a.m. and picked us up at 9 p.m. and he was in the baccarat table gambling hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'll never forget one time I was in Caesar's Palace. I was a kid, maybe 7 years old at the time, and I sat down at this beautiful restaurant, and he never showed up. And the waiter looked at me, and he's like, "I'm sorry, what can we get you?" And I had a strawberry shortcake, and I ate that alone. So these little memories of my father are what I remember. So,
but it'll burn into you because, like, even for me, I have the same kind. Like, my dad one time told me he was going to take me to a Cavs game, Cleveland Cavaliers game, versus the Milwaukee Bucks. And what's funny about that is on the Bucks was Tyronn Lue, who used to coach the Cavs, and so I ended up doing Ty Lue's personal work for years. Just as of, just recently, like, when he moved out of Cleveland. But I'll never forget, my dad went as far in this lie to take me to the game, because he sold the tickets for drugs. Take me to the game, get me down there, park, and then go, "Oh, I don't have the tickets." And it's like that kind of shit will just burn in you forever, man. To this day, I think about that,
It burns. I mean, my dad lived a fast life. He caught HIV in 1997. His girlfriend of 20 years, or whatever, how long they were together for, when he met a woman after my mom. They were together for a while, quite time. She left him. He lost everything he had. He lost my college funds. He lost pretty much everything. He used to have a lot of money back in the day, and then the one who would do the wrong thing, and caught the HIV. I found out and broke down, and then fucking moved back up to New Jersey, and me and my brother was a saint because he would take care of him. We would pay for everything, his phones, so we kind of were the parents of him for the past 20 years, and he passed away last year of pancreatic cancer, and along with the hepatitis C and the HIV and everything else. And
did he have any regrets coming back later in life?
He was miserable once he caught HIV, and he was a different person. So, not saying he was a great guy, but before he caught that, he was like the life of the party, the fun. But again, you only saw your kid 2 times out of the year. I mean, how great of a guy was he really, And then once he caught AIDS, HIV, he became very, very depressed, and it was a miserable 23 years until he passed away. I didn't hold a funeral for him. There was not many people there, but his ashes are still in my closet, and I don't know what to do with him. I just stare at him every now and again. He has a lot of regrets. A lot of shit. He's never hit me, never did anything like that. Just he told me one thing that I remember. I was 6 years old at the time. He goes, "Son, I'm going to give you the advice that'll save you for the rest of your life." I go, "What is it, Dad?" And he goes, "Just remember this one thing, son. Just remember it came from me." I go, "What?" I'm 6 years old, "Son, you got to eat the pussy."
That's fucking great.
And
dude.
I go, "What the and I'll never forget that. I mean, that's just some pretty
I bet you the first time you ate pussy, you're just like, "Oh, shit, Dad."
pretty damn good advice.
Yeah. No, that's some great advice.
But things you remember when you're 6 years old from him, yeah, I'll never forget that.
That's interesting, though. You said you took your college fund, stuff like that, because my dad, my dad and I have the same name. And so when I was 18, I actually have never said this on this pod, but I went to buy a car, and I found out that I was like 35 grand in debt. well, I mean, I've never had a card, nothing. I'm like, man, what the fuck is going on here? And it turns out my dad was taking cards out my name when I was younger. So then I found out, like, you know, my grandmother was like, you got all these bonds and stuff. He cashed all my bonds out. So, like, any head start I had was just never there. My first communion money, he took all of it. You know, like, all that shit. And
It takes a toll on you, and you might not realize it, but it does.
I think, like I said, this most recent breakdown, I more so realized it. But, like, I have the same, and I don't know if you do either, but, like, my relationship with my mom is she's just never satisfied. So, like, she kind of had a tendency to jump boyfriend to boyfriend to boyfriend. So I have, like, this, I always say this about myself. I have the mental side of my mom, the mental illness of my mom, and I have the addictive personality of my father.
Okay.
And with my mom, she would, like, kind of jump boyfriend to boyfriend. She's, you know, cheating on people and stuff like that pretty much every time. And so, you know, none of that helped me out. This helps me out when I get to pick somebody, like, and I really appreciate you opening up because for me to hear those things, it's almost validation of, like, oh man, I'm not alone.
No, you're
right?
not alone. You're not alone. I mean,
what was it like with your mom then?
Yeah, so my mom, amazing human being, just amazing. She's a great mother. She met my stepdad when I was about 5. So he raised us. There was 4 of us all together. So me and my brother, and then he had 2 sons, and we all lived together. But again, he didn't receive child support from his ex-wife, and he didn't receive child support from my father. So he was kind of had a lot of pressure on him, and it was rough. It was a rough upbringing for me. You know, a lot of resentment towards him because we got our fair share of beatings, and I got the brunt of it. Me and his younger son, who passed away, my stepbrother Kevin, passed away in 2013. I found him dead in bed. His wife left him, and he got involved with, like, heroin and stuff.
Yeah.
But Kevin I was very close with him, and and we got it pretty hard, growing up. And I feel like I was always I'm a good human being. I'm a super dad with my 3 kids. Because I did everything that happened to me, I do the opposite. I don't know why.
Me too, dude. Me too.
My wife wonders, why are you super dad and, doing everything. But I overcompensate with my 3 kids because I don't want, getting the beatings and all the other stuff. I'm not saying we didn't deserve what we deserved. There's 4 of us. But it was a very traumatic, for me, upbringing. I had some serious issues with some sexual things that happened to me also, which fucked me up. There's only so much therapy can do for you. I kind of internalized everything now and just block it out. And but that's how I create. I created BiBi. I took a lot of that and kind of get in the mind of someone who's suffering. But I mean, did it make me stronger? Yeah. Am I a survivor? Yeah. I can fucking put me anywhere. I'll find my way out, and I'll succeed. It definitely built my character, and I always question. I always, as an introvert, whatever. I never felt worthy enough to be with my wife. I always wondered what the fuck she was doing with me. It still haunts me to this day. She graduated number 1 in her class at Penn. She was a big time. She ran Macy's. She was a VP of Macy's at a very young age. Making $500,000 a year, traveling the world and seeing all this. And I'm just like this fuck up loser. And I always, beautiful person. Always wondered what the fuck she was doing with me.
She is such a, like, I mean, even I got to talk to her for probably a good 10 minutes the other day, and she's just like a fucking sweetheart, man.
Superstar mom, superstar upbringing. Her father was amazing. He passed away too, which really shook me because I would lean on him a lot. He took me in as his son. He always treated me with respect. Her family's amazing. But I always never felt good enough for her. I still don't. She deals with a lot of my shit, and I wish I could feel normal. I could never feel normal in life. I'll never feel normal. I always have this thing in my chest.
I'm the same way. Is it? And let me, before you say what it is, I gotta ask you. Is it like I'm one of those people that when like things are going well, that freaks me out more than when they're going wrong.
Yeah, I like misery.
Yeah, me too.
I don't like to feel good. I get a weird sensation feeling at rock bottom. It feels good. I don't know why. But yeah, I don't give a fuck about all this shit with the interviews and the festivals and all that. I just don't care. I mean, I don't care. Nothing really. Like, I'm like numb. I've been. Jamie's been helping, but I've been numb to the world for a long time, and it's hard, you know. And that's why I seek out connections with people, intimate connections, and they're few and far between. But I'm in pain every day. It's tough, man. The world's tough. I wish my brain was rewired how my wife thinks, and she sees things differently. She's a half glass full, and I never could get to that point. And it's really fucking challenging for me to push through. I've had some really bad experiences, and you know, it's just I'm hoping I somehow can get to that level where she is.
It's tough. I mean, even for me, like I think glass half full is like I try to always show people glass half full, you know, and then but it doesn't mean it's always great, you know, and like just because I don't like bringing people down around me, but at the same time, like with Judy and Paige about how like what delusional hope is, or, you know, or delusional confidence, and that's like kind of what I run on, man. Is I just have like delusional confidence for like a lot of the things that I do and stuff. But like as far as like from a mental health standpoint and from my like mental illness and from what I deal with, I feel that so hard because I struggle in the exact same ways where like rock bottom is just a more comfortable feeling for me. And I even said this.
Weird. It's weird that you say that. You bring that up. You know, being at rock bottom always felt natural.
Yeah.
But I mask it. It's hard when you have 3 kids and you have to put on a front and make sure that they're being taken care of and giving them the opportunities I never had. I don't want people to experience what I felt. And you look at my wife and how great she had her upbringing. That's what's important, and that's all I can. You know, if I succeed with these 3 kids, I did my job in life, and that's my focus. I
fucking love that. I'm a parent. You know, I have a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And I feel the exact same way because I feel like I was done wrong in so many ways, and like because you seem to be the same as me, where we just learned what not to do.
Yeah. Well, there's some people that go the opposite, and then it's a cycle. It's a terrible cycle, and it's usually how that happens, where you will wind up like how your dad was or whatever, and you know, beat your kids and, you know, degrade them and do, you know, the sexual molestation bullshit. And I'm so guarded on my kids and my daughter especially.
I believe it, especially nowadays, man.
No, I don't fucking trust anybody. I mean, you never know what somebody's thinking. You never know if you open their laptop what you're gonna see. So I'm very guarded with my kids. You know, and I kind of, you know, no sleepovers, none of that shit. And you know, I don't care if you're my best friend. I'm always have that red flag's always in the back of my mind. So
with your motivation behind this film, obviously the mental illness side, without giving away any spoilers to the film, but you know, for me, man, before I do all my pods, I have a binder, and you know, when I had gone through my stuff, I'd fucking ruined so many people's, not lives, but like I just let so many people down. I was a lying piece of shit. I had all these things. So like one day before this all started, I printed out all these text messages I could find of me saying, you know, lying or just doing the wrong thing, you know? Mm-hmm. And I put them in a binder. And I tap on it every time before a podcast because I try to remember why we're here. Yeah, okay. And I did this whole trip, and I met like a lot of like hardcore famous people and all these cool things. But when you said, you're like, yeah, like I could talk, I like kind of knew where this was heading. I was more excited for that because that's the part of this podcast that's so special, and that's a lot of our listeners that we have too. Is like people that struggle super, super hard with depression, people that have been through things, people that are real comfortable with rock bottom, you know. And so like I just want you to really dive into how much that was portrayed into your movie? And then was there ever a line that you maybe were like, all right, maybe that's too far?
No, nothing's ever too far. Depression's a motherfucker. It's hard, everyone's struggling with something. I don't want to come off as, woe is me. I never did that to anybody, and that's why I internalize everything. But for me, internalizing things, you can release a lot of that with me personally by writing, and maybe laying it on a character, and that character was our leading actor, Vivian Ashwood, and she's just such a sick woman, and she has traumatic things that happened to her, a death of a dear close family member, and the medication, the mental illness, the roller coaster ride, the lucid visions that she sees throughout the film, and it's a sad story, man. I didn't want something happy. I didn't want a resolution. One guy said that you should have had her do this at the end. I said, well, if that happened, that would be a resolution. I don't want a resolution. I want pain and suffering, and I want that cycle,
That's epic, because in real life, that's real.
That's authentic, and that's real, which is sad. I've seen so many therapists in my life, and I'm like, they can't,
me too, bro.
I'm done seeing therapists because they can't cure me. The best part of my sickness, or whatever you want to call it, is just I talk it out with my wife, and I don't want to put the burden on her, but she seems to welcome that, and I usually feel good. Even this past week, I had a breakdown, and she talked me through it, and we were great ever since. I mean, she said something. Sorry, I didn't want to.
No, go ahead.
She said something to me that fucking hit me really hard. When she got here, I had a breakdown, depression, and she just said something to me. She goes, you don't love yourself. She never said that to me before, and that fucking hit home. She just said, you don't love yourself, and and she's right. Like, until you can love yourself, until you can fix yourself, until you can feel good about yourself, there's no hope in trying to help anyone else, or trying to do this or that, or mask anything, because that is what I took. And the past 4 days here with her were incredible. So I'm gonna work on that moving forward. She's actually calling me right now. Hi, Jamie.
Answer it.
No, it's fine.
I think that when you love yourself, because I struggle with that still, because I don't know what's doing the right thing all the time.
Yeah.
And then when I start to get that feeling that things are like going well, I start to get like worried that, why are they going well? That's the last thing that I want to deal with usually. But I think I get more freaked out with, I just don't understand. For me, there's no comfort in just being okay. I just don't get that. I don't understand it. I don't feel it. And so I think, like, when you say, like, oh, like, you don't love yourself, or I don't know what it's like to maybe love myself. It's like, man, dude, I feel that so hard, because I don't either. I have no idea. And then the other side of it too is, like, at what point do you love yourself? Like, at what point are you like, oh yeah, everything's good, like, and that's for me where I get freaked out with the whole entire thing. But I'm and you can take it or leave it. I think my piece of advice that I'd give you, and this is like what really helped me love myself, is, I think, like, my biggest thing is, I always used to hate, like, people judging me, and I always wanted things to look better than they were, and I don't know why I always like, I would strive for that. I want people to, like, acknowledge me. I'm like an attention whore. That makes sense, right? But for me now, being able to sit and do this podcast, this is what makes me happy. This is my safe space. So to fix myself and to love myself more, I think really what I did is just indulged in more hobbies that I truly enjoy, and things that I enjoy. Yeah. And then another big thing is giving yourself things to look forward to. But with that being said, rock bottom is also still my most comfortable space.
But do you love yourself?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not to the point where I want to. You know, and I think that's why I'm still single right now, is because I just feel like I just wouldn't give them 110.
I hear you on that. You know,
And that's probably why you feel the way you feel about, like, man, she's so much better. And I felt the same way about my ex. It was just, God bless her soul, just a fucking beautiful human being. Yeah. And I was just the biggest piece of shit you could ever meet in your life. And
it's crazy.
And it's not, and so now it's like I look back and I'm like, well, I hopefully will meet somebody like that again.
Yeah.
But
and you may not.
I may not.
That's the sad truth. And I hope you do.
It's funny you say that. I hope I do, but at the same time, I kind of know I never will.
Know what the funniest thing is? Like, you could have the #1 podcast. I could picture you having the #1 podcast in the fucking world, and you'd still be tortured.
Yeah,
that's fucked up. If I ever win the Academy Award for Best Picture, I don't think it's gonna matter.
That's not it.
That's the fucked up part about it. What's the problem? Where's your root of problems coming from? I don't feel like accomplishing things steers me away. I don't get it, and that's scary. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to feel like I'm in rock bottom, but I gravitate towards that, and I need to fix that, because that's not a healthy way of living. It just sucks. It fucking sucks, man.
No, it does, and it sucks more. A lot of people that are listening will probably resonate with this. When you don't want to wake up in the morning, when you don't want to move, when you don't want to do anything, you don't even want to be in that bed. You don't want any of it. That's when I think I realized, I was like, man, this is just bad, right? When you're walking down the street with your family and you're just like, I'd rather be anywhere else, but I don't have an answer as to where that is. You know, or like you said, you could have the #1 podcast in the world, and it's like, I know that won't fulfill me.
It's sick.
I know it won't.
I know. I joke with my wife. I go, if I ever won the Academy Award, I walking up to accept my acceptance speech, I would probably get about 300 million views, but I would take my Academy Award and smash it in front of everybody.
Because it doesn't mean shit.
And say, this doesn't mean anything to me. And that's kind of how I feel. And I'm fucking stupid enough to do something like that. But it would be a great.
But I love it, and like that's for me. Like, I almost feel like nowadays, and maybe you can resonate with this or apply this as something for you. For me, the biggest fuck you is proving the people right that believed in me, because I felt like I burned them. You know, like, I don't really care about all these people. Like, if you don't like my podcast or you don't, resonate with any of this stuff, I mean, that's fine, man. But I had a lot of people that believed in me that burned. And so that's what drives me every day, is like, I want to do right by these people. I want to do right by my son.
So if you get redemption from these people, you'll feel in a better place, you feel?
You know what? I don't think I will never be able to get that.
Yeah.
That redemption. I'll never be able to have that conversation again.
Yeah.
And in the weirdest way, I hope I never do.
Yeah.
Because it like keeps driving me. And then in another way, it's like all I crave all day, every day. Right? Yeah. It's like everything I want in the world is like to just have that conversation and to give that person a hug and to be around them again. And it's just like, I know it'll never happen. And then to hear them say like, hey, you're doing well, or like, I'm really glad that you fish yourself. Like, I like would do fucking anything for that, bro. But like, let's like the harsh reality of it is like, I fucked it up so bad that there's no way.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way I reason with it. Everybody's like, well, never say never. It's like, no, man, like the only way I can reason with it and move on with my days is by assuming that it'll never happen.
Okay. That's good. I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. So, like, kids are obviously the best part. Is that your favorite job, being a dad?
Love it. I love those three, man. They're the best. It's the best thing that's ever. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me in check.
But when you're in that space, it's not depressing.
It's not depressing, but there's times where, I'll kind of be catatonic on the couch and be in my own world. I try not to do that around them. But there's times where I don't give it everything I can, but overall, I think I'm a great father. And they have such a great upbringing, and that was my main goal. Doing what I didn't feel like I experienced growing up. So but I give a lot of credit to my wife Jamie. She fucking super mom, you know.
What do you do to instill? What kinds of things do you do for your kids to instill things in them that for you were just like, hey, Chris, go figure this out for yourself, bro.
I mean, I never gave a, you know, there's never any love in my house as far as like giving a kiss and a hug, you know, especially with my dad. And we there's a lot of love in our house, and we talk about things. We don't fester things. Any issues they have, we talk it out with each and every one of them. So just the communication lines in our house are so open, where, you know, they have people that are truly there for them and support them, and they, you know, again, my wife has just killed it with that, and I try to do the best I can with them as well, and I think we're doing a good job. But I'd say that's the most important thing in my life, is not the movies, is making sure these three are okay when they get out of the house, you know.
What I've noticed for me is like presence is everything.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
yeah.
Like for me, like Daddy can come out here and meet all these cool people and these famous people and these celebrities and stuff, but like he'll choose playing basketball or playing catch with me every fucking day of the week over seeing a cool picture of me or seeing me on YouTube.
100%.
And like for me, that's where it resonates with me, is when I like have to, when I get to go home, I'm excited. Yeah. And I'm a single dad, and I think it's just fun to be able to go home to that, because even when I do get to occupy that space, I end up, man, I'm able to lose myself for a few minutes. Well, and what I appreciate about people like you, though, is you make these movies and you put real thought into it, real heart into it, real life into it, okay? And then for that hour and 20 minutes, however long your film is, everybody in that theater, everybody watching that movie gets to escape. Yeah. They get to escape all their problems, their bills, the realities of what they're dealing with in their life. And that's what I love about the creative minds in this industry, is because for me, I don't think I could have gotten through or can continue to get through what I'm dealing with without that. Yeah, right? Definitely. Or like without these kinds of conversations. And I knew this was going to be a good one, because I was like, you know, that's just crazy to me. And I got to ask, like, what age were you? You know how like parents think you're dumb and they like think you don't know what's going on? Yeah. Do you remember the first time like your dad said something to you or did something? Maybe it was that time when you guys ended up at Caesar's Palace versus Disneyland, but that really, really, really resonates with me. And you're like, I know what's going on here.
Later on, I was, I think I would have turned out really well. I was a good fucking kid, me and my brother. Things started going bad, I think, when, you know, before I was 6, when we all got together, all 4 of us. I think that's when things took a turn. Before then, I lived with my grandmother and my mother, and I remember things were much different. And I think when we all got together in that house, for me personally, I don't know, I'm sure they probably see things differently. That's when I started getting angry and changing, just becoming a different person.
How old were you?
6 when we moved in all together, when the yelling and all that, because before that, I don't think that was that never, I don't have any bad memories before that. It just got really hard. It got really hard. It got violent. It got a lot of verbal, mental, physical abuse in that house growing up. I mean, there's obviously good times too. And again, I don't have any anxiety or anger towards my stepfather anymore. I think taking on the burden of raising 4 kids with little money was very challenging for him, and that's something he didn't have to do. But he did for my mom. So I always have that soft spot in the back of my head. But I mean, there's times where, you know, you get beat with a belt, you get verbally screamed at, you hit, and it wasn't pleasant. And then you throw in the sexual things that happened, you know, with me and another human being, not my stepfather. You know, that took a big fucked up toll on me, and I think it molded me into something I'm not. And what's great about my wife and my kids is I gravitated towards the good of me, instead of that anger. That anger is like so strong, and that rage is really, really fucking powerful and scary to be around. It's
So you have anger problems? Because I do.
I don't have anger problems. I have my wife calmed me down. If I flip a switch, it's not pretty. It doesn't happen much, but yeah, I kind of keep that shielded. But before I met my wife, I had some anger things and got into fights and with other people and things like that, and she kind of changed my perception on life. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't meet her. I'm not sure. I don't think it would be in a good place. But it's fucking, the world's tough, man. I mean, just try to be around the right people, try to surround yourself with good people, and I think good things will happen. It's weird because I never did any hard drugs or anything. I was around that whole scene. I never tried cocaine. I never tried mushrooms even.
That's good. I mean, that's a good space that you're not going into, because I can tell you from personal experience that, like, you can easily mask everything and say, hey, listen, like, I'm fine, guys. Let me show you how great I am when I'm doing coke all the time. Yeah. Right? Like, because I could. Trust me. And guess what? You'd be like, this guy's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, no, I never got into that whole scene. My dad was into the shit he did as a kid, and the heroin and all that bullshit. And then when my brother passed away from heroin overdose or whatever he was on in this system, I don't know what them. He's a fucking big giant mess.
It is. I've had a ton of friends OD.
Everybody I know OD'd and died. One of my best friends, Jerry Chiazzo, passed away. Another OD, same shit, heroin. It's a fucking nightmare. I don't know why I see the pain that these people are dealing with. You think I'm bad, but I mean, these people must be dealing with some pretty bad fucking demons. And I feel really, really bad because I've lost a lot of people to drug addiction. It's such a mess. It's really hard.
It's scary, man, because
to deal with.
That's what I get a lot of too. Is I've had a lot of, like, my buddies and my friends just from high school over the years. I think, like, we recently had Kyle McKenna was his name, and Pat Kilbane, and I love both those guys. So we're not, like, best friends of mine by any means, but they're those guys. Like, I would call them friends. I would call them more than acquaintances. Definitely friends, but you would see them, after high school every couple years or whatever. Those people that you just love and you care about, and they both OD'd and died, and we've had tons of that in the Cleveland area.
You never know who's doing it either, and I think the problem is your expectations are set so high, and people search for that release, and that, and I think depression's a big fucking problem in this world. I mean, the opiate addiction now is it's fucking catastrophic. It's sad, man. People are really fucking struggling in this world. But what can you do,
What do you do nowadays when you get real down? Like, what are you doing to maybe combat that a little bit?
I go in my room and I sit there and fucking get just heavy chest. I mean, things that help me is making sure I take a jog, making sure.
I was going to ask you, do you work out?
I run every once in a while. I should run a lot more, but I'll if I go for a run, I feel good.
It kills anxiety. It's like, I mean, for me at least, yeah, man. Like, when my fat ass goes for a run, I feel great, bro. I feel great, dude.
Being around my kids and just making this movie was a big thing that I got off the checklist of what I want to accomplish before I go. So doing BiBi was a big accomplishment. I'm very, very proud of doing it. There's so many times where I thought it was gonna not go through, and we actually made it, which is like fucking awesome. It's amazing.
What was that feeling like when you knew it was going to go through? You figured out we're going to film festivals. You figured out you're going to be able to shoot this, all those things. What's that like?
Amazing feeling. I mean, because there's so many roadblocks we had. We had COVID. We had your leading actress backing out. You had funding that fell through, which is when I had to put out my money. Making sure you can even put the film together. You might make a movie and you have shitty actors in it, and you didn't realize because when they were reading it, things felt right, but then the acting has to come through, the cinematography has to come through, the music. I mean, our composer reached out to me. I don't even know where I found him. He did all the Maze Runner movies. He's on Disney. He fell in love with the script. So I had a lot of things that fell into place. But I mean, I can't imagine for people trying to put a film together. It's such a challenging, daunting task. So I'm very, blessed that we're standing where we're standing, and everything did go through, and we have a film to show that I'm proud of, and it's getting into the festival circuit now, and who knows what's going to happen. But it's not easy making an independent film, so I give anyone out there thinking about it a lot of credit, especially at this budget range. I mean, when you get into the $1 million range, I mean, you're talking serious money, and independent film at that budget range, there's no guarantee you're gonna sell your movie. You might get distribution, but distribution means dick. I had 5 distribution deals I already turned down because there wasn't enough money up front, and these big time companies, which I'm not going to name, are acquiring 30 films a month, and only one's going to make it, and that's the fucking truth. I'm sitting on these panels here. I feel bad for a lot of these filmmakers. They don't know the harsh fucking reality of this business. This business is cutthroat. If you don't have a fucking great story, you're dead in the water. Then you need things to happen for you. Then you need an A-list actor's great, but it's a fucking catch-22. No offense, they're not going to read your script because they're getting thrown 40 scripts from studios. Why would they do yours? That's the fucking sad truth. And you could bring up movies like Pulp Fiction and all that, but yeah, I hate to be a downer on this, but yeah, there's one Pulp Fiction to every 250,000 films that will never see the light of fucking day. And then there might be films at Pulp Fiction where they're really fucking good, but they'll never see the light of day. So a lot of things have to go. So what I'm trying to say is, don't make films to think you're going to be on the red carpet in Hollywood and selling your movie for $3 million. Do these movies because you love them from your heart, and if you can accept that, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, everything else after the fact just sweetens the deal.
Doesn't matter. I mean, you don't do it for the wrong reasons, because it's a fucking tough ass business, man. Tough.
Well, and I think a lot of what you do too, I'm sure, because you have actors and actresses and crew and producers that are super excited and stuff. So I'm sure there's definitely times where you're like putting on the face of like, yeah, this is all great and stuff like that. But the reality of it is there's got to be times when you're going home going, fuck, dude, like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to change 100%. This?
I'm always negative on it. Because I have to be, because, I am the producer on this. I'm the head producer with the money behind it. And I'm always making sure, like, I don't have any, as good as our fucking movie is, and we might win this festival tomorrow, and we're in Cinequest, which is a big fucking festival. We just got into Richmond, a big fucking festival. Waiting on Toronto. We get in Toronto, big fucking festival. But, go look at how many films at Sundance didn't get picked up and making money, and there's your answer right there. So you can have the best fucking movie. It's still a tough business. My goal out of this is to get back what we put in, and then if we don't, I'll get someone to notice what I did and move on from there and work off of that. And that's why I'm here. And I hope these 2 actresses outside, Elizabeth Page and Judith Andamini, get the recognition they deserve, because they're fucking amazing.
I'm like super pumped that you guys were down to come over here and do individuals, because for me, it means more to be able to sit down with you guys on like a personal basis and be able to just kind of chat and see where you're at. And I can't tell you how much how happy I am that I got to sit with you, because I am right there with you.
I know. I feel it.
Yeah, and I felt it the other night when we were talking. I was like, yeah, this is the one. And I told Mark, I was like, because when you go through things, people can do drugs, alcohol, things like that. I'm a naturally depressed person, though. It all happens all naturally.
Unfortunately, yeah. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm working really hard.
Have you ever done, if you don't mind me asking, edit whatever, have you tried medication at all?
No, I've never taken any medication.
I think you should try it.
I've never tried it.
I'm not on any right now. And the only reason I say that is because I've tried it. Yeah. I loved it. What I hated about it is I felt like my creative side went away.
Yeah, you got numb to it.
But what I loved about it is that I felt way better. And it wasn't like a placebo feel better. It was like a thing. And then eventually I was like, well, I'd rather be depressed and creative. And that's where I came into play with it, you know? And so I always tell people, I'm like, you know, at whatever anybody decides to do, especially you, man, I will support and back you 100% because I love that. I love that you came here and just chopped it up with me. Yeah. But I think it's also like, it's important to take care of yourself, and it's important to everybody else listening here that they're taking care of themselves and doing the right thing. And I got two more things for you. One, what do you want everybody to know about BiBi, your film? And then, what do you want everybody to know about BiBi? I'll keep it general.
I mean, I'm tired of watching films on TV now and things being released by Netflix, and I mean, this was like a big motivation for me to make this film in the first place. I'm just tired of the shit that's on fucking TV. I'm like, it's just a lot of garbage, and I hate to say that but nothing really moves me anymore. So I'm a big Kubrick fan. I love those atmospheric, beautiful films where you can lose yourself in it, and old school cinema, those great actors and directors, and that's what I wanted to bring back in this on an independent budget. And I hope I achieved that. And maybe old school cinema's dead, but those are the movies I gravitate towards, and I hope there's a group of people out there that will appreciate what we've done with this, and that's all I can ask for. I just want to bring something different, something original, and something, that used to be old school Hollywood back to where we're at now.
You have this crazy passion, and I love everything that you're talking about and how you incorporated it and how it affects you and stuff like that. And everybody here, I can promise you, will appreciate you opening up, because you just talked about a lot of things that all of us are dealing with.
I left a lot of things out.
Yeah, well, that's what we always. Well, so we always try to leave more for later, though, and that's because I always do follow-ups too. So. I love doing that, and then I finish always, my question, but I'm going to ask you again. I already know your answer, but I'm still going to ask you again. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy would you consider yourself to be? And if you're not a 10, what do you think you get yourself to do to be closer to a 10?
I mean, you guys laughed at me last time when I said this.
But it's accurate, dude, and I love that.
I'm a 1. It's what it is, man. I feel like I'm a damaged soul, unfortunately. My wife's a 10, so I just want to try to maybe meet her halfway and work with her. She's, she sees life differently, and I think I can get there. Honestly, I do. I gotta put the work in. It's hard. My life is not all that miserable. I mean, when I'm with my family and my kids, and things go good, and I should be very grateful and fortunate for what I have. Because I have a lot to live for, and I do know that there's hope for me, and there's probably hope for a lot of you out there listening to this. It takes work, and it comes from inside you, and love yourself. That's all I can tell you, and that's what I'm trying to do, is to love yourself and believe in yourself, and find out, like you mentioned, do things that you love doing. I'm not saying go make an independent film, but if there's something you want to do in life, I mean, you're 30 years old right now, what do you got, 50 years left? Fucking do it. What are you waiting for? Don't get caught in that grind and that wheel. And that's something I can attest to, saying that I don't have any regrets on things that I want to do in life. I'm going to do each one of those, and I've done that in my life, and everything I put my mind into, especially in the film business, I think I've achieved. So that's all I'll say. And if you're doing things you love, there's not much more you can ask for. And just be a good person. That's one thing I will say that I am, is a good fucking person, with a big heart. So yeah, that's it.
I love that. I need you to clip that last piece, what he just talked about. Just go fucking do it. Oh, I feel that. Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. Yeah. And I appreciate you coming on, number 1, and then number 2, if there's anything I could ever do for you, please let me know. Anything. You want to call me and bitch and moan about your horrible day, let your boy know.
I will. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Seriously.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Seriously. That was fucking amazing.